Dear Ethereum, I won't be staking my ETH. At least not now. I'm sorry to say this, but the benefits do not outweigh the risks at this time for me. I'm a small ETH holder, but I am sufficiently resourced to run a staking node. But I don't believe this approach to staking will work for me. I'm a great believer in the Ethereum ecosystem, and I'm proud of everything it has achieved to advance the cause of smart contracts and decentralized finance. I am amazed that it's given birth to an entirely new branch of fintech, and I think what they've done to build their ecosystem has been phenomenal. But I won't be staking my ETH. Why? Because the benefits do not outweigh the risks. If I explain this, it'll make sense. So let's go through the required steps. Firstly, I'm going to need to rent a dedicated server because I need to ensure there is no downtime in my staking node. Secondly, in order to stake Ethereum, I'm going to need a minimum of 32 ETH. I'll either need to already hold these ETH, or I'm going to need to market buy 32 ETH. At producing this podcast, that market buy would be $18,000. So I'm going to need to spend a minimum of $18,000 to acquire the required 32 ETH in order to stake. Then I'm going to have to lock that Ethereum into a non-withdrawable smart contract. I emphasize this, non-withdrawable, which means I can deposit the Ethereum in the smart contract, but I cannot currently withdraw it. And I will not be able to withdraw that Ethereum until they release an update to their current staking solution that enables withdrawals. This proposed version 1.5 of Ethereum staking is not due out for at least 1 year from now, assuming no delays in deployment. So I am effectively locking my Ethereum for at least a year. In that time, I have to hope that the staking reward, which looking at the charts is less than 10% per annum of any ETH deposited, I have to hope that that reward balances out the risk of any hack on the protocol, any price volatility in ETH, balances out the setup fees, balances out the rewards from every other DeFi or staking solution, and balances out the cost of time required to learn and set up a staking node. I think that's a big ask, and right now, the only reason I can see personally to make the effort is if you happen to get into Ethereum very early, i.e. you bought loads of ETH very cheap, and have the time, the academic interest, and risk appetite to lock 32 ETH minimum into a contract that for all intents should be regarded as insecure until proven otherwise. So explain the risk-reward aspect of that to me in a way that would make me seriously want to stake ETH, and I'd consider you a genius. But that's not all. I've been studying and monitoring the price movements of various proof-of-stake coins for a couple of years, and I've come to realize a few things about proof-of-stake as a solution when applied to pure currencies or to coins that are just acting as a kind of speculative store of value, which is that in proof-of-stake, you find over time liquidity in the system generally is diminishing in a pure proof-of-stake system. This is because holders of the coins of proof-of-stake systems are often passive speculators, and they're incentivized to lock their funds out of circulation because the funds they lock out of circulation, they're being used to stake, i.e. to validate the network. This will net them rewards that they will often accumulate instead of spend or sell because they believe the native tokens they are accruing will one day appreciate in value. So whilst the available circulating supply is less, the number of transactions on the network becomes less, and the flow of the proof of stake coins, the velocity of that flow diminishes. And the issue is, as the velocity of coin flow diminishes, you find that the distribution tends to actually diminish over time as well. What you find, at least in my observation, is that as the distribution of coins decreases, you've effectively got diminishing trading volumes. And as you get diminishing trading volumes, you get less interest in actually trading the coin from speculators. As there's less interest from trading the coin in speculators, you find that the price of the coin generally goes into decline, because you've got this vicious feedback loop in a lot of pure proof of stake systems, which is that the majority of the coins tend to be bought up and then held by people who believe in that project. But because they're not actively selling or distributing or redistributing those coins to new users of the ecosystem as a result shrinks in its active user base over time. And this is really problematic if you're just a pure currency, because if you're a pure currency or a pure store of value, what you need to be doing in many ways is the opposite. You need to be diversifying your coin distribution. You need to be diversifying ownership. You need to be diversifying the number of people holding and using your coins actively. You don't want to be locking away large numbers of your coins from circulation. Quite the opposite. You want to be freeing a lot of your supply into circulation so that it can actively flow and be distributed and be shared and used and adopted for non-speculative usage. Because it's the process of adoption that gives a coin value. And if you lose that process of adoption, you start tearing away value from that coin and from that network. And I've seen this happen to so many proof of stake coins. The original proof of stake coin was Peercoin, and I doubt many people know about it because it fell victim to the exact process I've just described. And I believe Ethereum, in transitioning fully to proof of stake, is at risk of suffering this same fate as well. However, I do not think the outcome for Ethereum is as clear-cut as this doom and gloom would suggest. It has plenty of non-speculative usage, although admittedly much of its present valuation is speculative. I expect the non-speculative usage of Ethereum will continue to increase in the future. What I do consider is the complex relationship between that non-speculative usage and the price and usage of ETH tokens. If you look at the details, that relationship is not so clear-cut. It's quite complex. Broadly speaking, an increase in non-speculative usage of the Ethereum network will lead to increased consumption of ETH. This relationship is certainly not linear, and a full description of the relationship goes well beyond the scope of this podcast. Suffice to say, it's complex and dependent on multiple factors, among which will include the final level 2 scaling solutions that Ethereum will predominantly veer towards. What I will say is the speculative future of Ethereum, much like Bitcoin, looks bright. And I will certainly be holding my ETH through the period of 2020 and 2021, and I will be looking closely at the speculative markets because I see opportunities ahead. This is not financial advice. This is simply mere bullishness from someone who has been in cryptocurrency for a long time. And it doesn't change the fact that when the time comes, I will be looking to see if Ethereum has achieved sufficient non-speculative usage to justify my involvement as a staker, or whether I need to consider exiting to fiat.